I was recruited. I was in the living room when they came and recruited me, 2 Air Force officers. They recruited me, asked my parents if I could join this program for Bright Children, which was a special education program at Randolph. And I was amazed. And I said, and they didn't let you join? I said, no. He said, no, when they mentioned a Skinner box, my parents said they didn't want me involved because they didn't think that was a good idea. And the idea as it must have been told to my parents, I was not present when I was recruited. And therefore, I don't know what was said to them, that the child would be placed in this box that would use repetitive teaching for high-speed learning of advanced subjects. That was probably what they were told, because that was what the other parents were told. And so this boy did not get into this program, but I did get into it. I got into it in July of 1952. I thought for a while it was earlier, but it was not earlier. It was July of 1952, and I'll tell you why I know that. It was extremely stressful. I went on Thursdays, and I was I don't remember anything about it except being confined and there being a very loud noise involved. That's all I remember.
Confined?
I was like, I guess I was in the Skinner box. But that's what they said, the parents of the other boy.
Skinner box?
Skinner. B.F. Skinner was a psychologist who practiced in the 1950s, who came up with an idea of a high-speed learning system where the person was placed in this box and was fed repetitive learning, as I understand it.
Okay.
But I don't remember any repetitive learning. I remember really loud noise.
Okay.
And in any case, I was in the Skinner box. I guess that being in the Skinner box must have been very stressful, because when I was going to school in that fall, I began to get all kinds of illnesses. I couldn't go to school for a few days without coming down with another cold. And they took me to the doctor, and the doctor said, he has no white blood cells. He's under tremendous stress of some kind. And they took me out of that. And where did I end up being treated for this lack of an immune system? Was at Brooke General Hospital, again, a military hospital. And they gave me shots of gamma globulin, and I remember very vividly because the needles were huge, and I was a little boy, and these were doctors who were only used to dealing with adults. And one time, and maybe more than one, the needle went all the way through my arm, and gamma globulin went down my chest. So, and I was there for a few days and very scared because I was alone, and I was in isolation, and there was a sheet over the door, as I recall, and no one would come in. And when they did come in, they had masks on, and it was very scary. In fact, it scares me now thinking back on it. Anyway, soon I was sent home, and I was isolated. I couldn't go. I could get my food only in my bedroom, and then during the day when my sister was gone, I could go downstairs and go in the backyard and stay in the backyard. And so I was out of school from October through January, until January. Interestingly enough, when my mother died, I found one thing she had saved from all of my school years, which was my report card from that year with all of the nuns' neat handwriting, absent due to illness for all of those months. And I showed it to my sister, and she said, "How did you get this?" My sister was 18 months older than me. She's deceased now. And I said, "Well, it's in Mother's box, her keepsakes." She said, "She should never have kept this." And I said, "Well, I'm going to keep it." The next thing I knew, it had disappeared. And my sister told me she didn't know where it was. She took it and hid it or threw it out for some reason. She did not want that known.
That you missed school.
No, she didn't want the evidence. And I don't know whether she was programmed to do it or she knew more about it than I did or not. I don't know. Because maybe Mother had talked to her about it. I think Mother felt very guilty about it. That's why she would save that all those years.
What do you think was going on? What do you think they were doing to kids like you at this military base that was this progressive learning that was stressing you out so much that it killed your
wasn't
immune
progressive
system?
learning. I have theorized about it. I can't remember anything except the loud noise. This is my living memory.
Mm-hmm.
I even have started a novel about it called The Changeling, which I'm never going to finish because nobody will buy my fiction, only my nonfiction. And I want to eat. So I just anyway. Maybe I will finish it, and my kids can publish it after I die. It'll tell the whole story, the novel, as fiction. But what I will say now is that I think they might have been trying to get me to leave my body, or something like that. It was not.
So some sort of like MK Ultra spinoff or something.
It was right before MK Ultra started, and I think it had something to do with that sort of thing. That's just a wild guess, really. There could be any number of things they were trying to do. I mean, who knows? God, one thing I do know, whatever they were trying to do, it was total BS. And it just hurt a little boy terribly. They should pay me for that, but they never will. The records, they're always looking for these records in this disclosure, and Congress is demanding that the records be brought forward. And then the DOD says, we don't have any records. And they're not lying because they've offloaded them to the defense industry. So they don't have to be. FOIA doesn't matter.
Right.
The records aren't there. In any case, as Arthur Exon told me long ago, he was a close friend of my uncle's, and they were both at Wright Field at the Air Materiel Command when the debris and bodies were brought in.
From Roswell?
From Roswell, yeah, in July of 1947. So no one can tell me it didn't happen because it did. Mm-hmm. As I didn't get lied to by my own family and a good friend like General Exon, who was a very distinguished officer and also was commandant of Wright Pat for a long time. So
what do you think that was at Roswell? What do you think crashed?
I can tell you precisely what crashed. Why it crashed, I can't tell you. It was a device containing 3 entities, which were part of the device, essentially. They were biological entities, and supposedly one of them was still alive when it was brought to Wright, but General Exon didn't say anything about that. The only thing, and he didn't tell me this directly, he told one of my relatives this, that he had held one in his arms, and it was like a big insect. That was his precise description. My uncle said that he didn't refer to the bodies. He referred only to the debris and the object, which he said was somewhat intact. And so they had, from Roswell, partially intact object and some debris and bodies.
3 bodies.
3 bodies. And Walter Haut, who was the press officer at the Army Air Base in Roswell, left an affidavit, which was published by his family after he died, describing all of this, the bodies and so forth, in great detail. And he said to me, I went out to Roswell to talk to him. He said he wouldn't talk about the bodies. I asked him point blank, were there bodies? And he was simply silent. He wouldn't say yes, he wouldn't say no, because he didn't like to lie. He was a very straight-up guy, straight-ahead guy, Walt was. And so he left this is as much as he could do. And Colonel Jesse Marcel left a videotape with, thanks to Stanton Friedman, where he describes in detail the debris that he found and brought in to his home in his station wagon with his little boy, who Dr. Marcel passed away just a couple of years ago, who attested to this story also.
Right.
So it happened.